So when they asked me for the title of the talk, I gave a technologist introduction of blockchain or cryptocurrency or whatever. And but then I decided to give a more descriptive name. Introduction for Cryptoeconomics Engineering. What it does is that we bring engineering into economics. So my wife has a PhD in econ, and I always remind her, your field of study is not a real science, it's called soft science. Why? Because you can never do hypothesis testing. Every time there's a hypothesis, and then you publish it, people would know about it, and then you will not be able to test it. Look at famous economic theories of the world. When you look back 100 years ago, there's Das Kapital. That could well be the most correct economic theory that has ever been thought of. However, when the capitalists saw it, they thought, oh, do we do the way that we have been keep doing the way that we have that has been done in the past 50 years, then the worker class may rebel, and we may not be able to live and enjoy our exploits, right? So they changed their ways, and then there's social democracy was born. And if you look at things like that, economics has never been a science that has been designed to apply the scientific principle. However, with new technology, which I'm going to talk about today, the software engineers, software developers like us, can bring hypothesis testing and make economics a real science. And so that's where my wife always reminds me, okay, so what you say is it's a soft science because economics has never won a Nobel Prize. It's always been the mathematician that wins the Nobel Prize. So is computer science. It has never been a Nobel Prize either because it's too much engineering. It's not enough theory. So this is where I come to say, I'm just writing code for money. I'm really in my heart I'm a physicist. You will see it. So we have a whole room of people, and I think if I give this talk last year, there will be 2-3 people show up. Why? Because there's an anonymous bubble that's going on right now. It's called Bitcoin. And so every bubble, there's a soul searching because people made money, and people who try to make money, they try to justify the money they made is right, is for the social good. It's it's everything is they're doing good, they're not doing bad to the society. So every bubble started with soul searching, and people typically justify this to say every great invention started with a bubble. You cannot say every bubble turns out to be a great invention, but every great invention started with a bubble. Look at the railroad, look at the internet, look at everything that we have today. It's all because the capital markets put irrational amount of money into those things, did all the experiments that were doomed to fail, and then 1 or 2% of them turned out to be a success. So people look back at the days of the internet. People look at the days of e-commerce. When I think a lot of us are still old enough to remember when e-commerce first came along. When Amazon said we're gonna sell stuff on the internet. A lot of us back then thought it was a scam. It was a pure scam. Why? Because at the time, all you need to do is pick up a phone and order something. You have JCPenney catalog. You just check out stuff from the catalog. Why on earth would anyone want to have a modem to dial up a phone line and then go on the computer to select stuff and buy it? That is something that provides much worse user experience, much worse security, much worse everything. And yet, because Amazon has created enough of a bubble, e-commerce has created enough bubble, it's educated a whole generation of consumers that would not do things any other way. People would not pick up phones to order stuff. So that's where the soul searching come from. And so this is a very typical soul searching diagram. People say, why this is a revolution? I only realized that coming to an IBM conference, so don't worry about it. But the gist of this idea is everything moves to the openness, and the openness creates more mainstream adoption and more profits. To compound hardware, to software, to network, and then to the crypto era, which is what we call blockchain today, which I think people are trying to say is internet is a network of information, and the blockchain is network value. So money has never been open source. And in order to have a network that has open source money, it's going to be much more revolutionary and much order of magnitude bigger than everything in the past we have seen. So that's people rationalize this, right? So who am I? As I said, I have a training in physics. I actually have a PhD in physics, so I really enjoyed the quantum computing stuff here in this conference. I loved it. That's all these years studying whether Einstein is right or Bohr is right with the Bell experiment. It's all come along into a nice, computing package. But anyway, that's after I get my PhD, my econ wife said, you need to make money. So I said, fine. Let me go out because I'm good at computers. I've done a lot of simulations with Texas Supercomputer Center, and say I'm going to go out and find a job because I'm good at writing code. So I applied for a job at IBM and Microsoft and all the big ones. But it would even not pass the HR because people say, where's the computer science degree? You don't have a relevant degree. That's told me two things. The first, centralization is bad. That's if someone has a gate. If you have a gatekeeper like this, there's never going to be true. There's you can't have you can't compete on your abilities. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I did is that I went to the world of open source, right? So I just pick up a project and start to contribute to it. And then at the time, there's no business model for open source. Red Hat was just started, right? So I joined the project, and then we did well in the end. That's we essentially sold to Red Hat. Some of you might still remember the project. It was the enemy of IBM at the time. It was called JBoss. It was the enemy of WebSphere. But in the end of the day, that we successfully decreased the market value of the Java application server, and made the whole middleware industry open source and decentralized, right? So that's my background in terms of software development. So I have a lot of experience with open source and understand the methodology, and that's so for me the blockchain revolution comes as a natural extension of programmers has always been wanting to do, is to decentralize. Except last time it was fighting Microsoft. This time it's fighting something much bigger. So after I had I had my career in software, I went back to research and did some medical research. Then I become a venture investor. I'm still a venture investor. So with a venture fund. However, in my 2 years as a venture partner, we see a lot of blockchain projects, and they were never good enough to invest because the market size is always too small. It's always a small software project that has no other applications. Until this year, things has really changed because there's a friend of mine who used to work in software started telling me that they don't need to raise venture round anymore. They can just have the crowd funding their efforts, and they raised enormous amount of money. They raised, so just imagine, in March 2017, a year back from now, projects that was able to successfully crowdfund itself raised, say, at the time they raised, let's see a hypothetical case. At the time they raised, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum, ETH, for like $10 million. And what do they have now? Just by holding those coins, they would have over $200 million in the bank now for just the software project. And at VC, we typically found $1 to $3 million for those software projects and ask them to labor for like 3 years and see if the software have any application. But for people who can raise $200 million at one go for developing software, you guarantee that they're gonna think much bigger. They are not going to say that we are going to develop a software. They want to build an ecosystem. They're gonna disrupt everything. That's where this so much energy of this case come from. That's is highly ideological people. People who used to be not able to raise money because they are so their ideology is so pure. They want to decentralize everything. They want to be open source and couldn't raise money, but suddenly was awash with money. So that's where I decided to quit my VC job and start a project on my own. Together with the company. That's in our portfolio. So So now I'm full-time at the Cybermiles Foundation, and we had a successful ICO around Thanksgiving last year. So we raised about $30 million, but then again, it was at the ETH and the BTC price at then it has gone up a lot. So that's where I come from. That's why I'm here to try to tell you my experience and see that's whether we can get mainstream software developer excited about all this, because as you will see, everything that we have done in blockchain in the past has always been on the fringe, because this by its very nature it has been a revolution from the fringe. So what do we want to cover? I want to make this talk fairly technical. I don't want to talk about the money aspect of it, because you can read the money aspect of it anywhere you go. Just pick up a newspaper, you're going to read about Bitcoin. And whether the price has gone up, price has gone down, that's you can read all that you want. But since this is a developer conference, I want to first talk about what is blockchain and why it is so slow. And why people say this thing is a scam, this thing can never be used. Why is that? And second, I want to talk about the blockchain killer applications. Do we have killer applications today? I'd argue we already have. We don't need to wait for the infrastructure to build. I can tell you why I think about that. And then I will talk about cryptoeconomics. That's by combining economics engineering with software engineering, we can solve a lot of the problems that blockchain inherently have. So I think that creates a whole new field, because in the past, economics and software engineering are two independent fields. They don't intersect with each other. But now with blockchain and cryptocurrency, that we have an opportunity to mesh them together and really do something great. So what is blockchain? It's really simple. It's just one thing. It's a decentralized ledger. Okay, it's a place where you can report transactions. That's it. There's no other purpose or no other use of this particular technology. It's not just distributed, but decentralized. That's important, because we have distributed software for many years. We have distributed database, we have distributed a lot of software can be distributed, but they all have a centralized authority to control it, control the distribution, and all the nodes that runs on the network. So the key characteristic of blockchain is decentralized, meaning no central entity will be able to control the node. And it's a small subset of database functions without the DBA. That's where I just mentioned, when I was sitting in the VC's office, we looked at tens, if not hundreds, of blockchain projects, software projects that say they can verify using blockchain. But it's always too small. Why? Because everything they do, you can do with a database. If you don't consider the cryptocurrency aspect of it, those projects can never be bigger than a database. So why would I, spend all this energy and spend all this money to fund something that maybe much smaller than MongoDB, certainly much smaller than MySQL, no comparison to Oracle, because Oracle has been the first mover in the space, right? So this is a very specialized database technology. Why would anyone invest any significant money to do this? That's a question. That's if you look at IBM's efforts in this, Hyperledger has been around for several years, and what they did is, there's a notion at the time is blockchain is good, cryptocurrency is bad, because the latter is a scam, the former is technology. So what they did is, for the very, very specific purpose, Hyperledger took out the ability to issue cryptocurrency on top of it. So it becomes a product that the IT department will use. Once you become IT department will use, then you can really put a price on how much it's going to be worth in 5-10 years. There's no possibility it's going to be bigger than database. No possibility it's going to be bigger than application server. So in the end of the day, if you are a venture investor looking for 100 times return, those projects are very small time software projects that you never invest. That's the logic. Why? The decentralized ledger, before there's cryptocurrency, this is very unexciting. People look at this again and again and again, never invest in it. And but something has changed in 2017, and people suddenly realize maybe cryptocurrency is not a vice, that is not a parasite that is living on the good blockchain technology. Maybe it is the purpose of blockchain technology. Maybe the blockchain technology is not good for anything other than cryptocurrency. this, I think, is one of the aha moment that I had. It's when I decided I don't want to be able to see it. I want to do something in this space. So without diverging, let's talk about the key features of decentralized ledger. Decentralized ledger, it's consensus without authority. You have to be able to reach consensus from the nodes on the network without an authority telling you what to do, and impossible for small groups to cheat. Because once you have a network like that, you would have, if the network has enough value, the people want to hack it. People would want to band together to make changes to the network to benefit themselves rather than at other people's expense. You have to guard against that. And it's very difficult to change past history. That's one of the characteristics of blockchain. And what's not optimized is not optimized for performance. When the blockchain software was invented in 2008, I think the Moore's law is still, I think people are still believing in that, still in force. And I think there's a notion that the performance problem can be solved sooner or later, because all computer performance problems get solved sooner or later. And but I think this has not happened. That's because of the lack of funding, because of the different ideas that's required outside of software engineering have made it, has made blockchain performance lagging even today. This is what that means. So let's give a concrete example of blockchain with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. That's everybody knows. So people always ask me, where is Bitcoin? Where can I see a Bitcoin? I was reading New York Times the other day. I was vacationing in New York City, and there was a news article saying that a homeless guy was selling Chuck E. Cheese tokens at Bitcoins on the street. He was arrested for that. That's people have a very hard time understanding why there's no Bitcoin. Not only there's no physical Bitcoin, there's no digital representation of Bitcoin either. You cannot identify a string that says this is a Bitcoin. You can only identify a string to say this is a private key to account that holds Bitcoin. So the answer to that is really no Bitcoin. It's just a list of transactions that creates and splits Bitcoins. So you add up all the transactions, you know how much balance each person has in their accounts, right? In order for the Bitcoin network to run, every node has to rerun every single transaction in order for them to come to the consensus that this is indeed the correct transaction that should be included in the block. And as you can see, this by itself is a very slow process because the entire network performance is limited by the slowest computer on the network. That alone is a very big bottleneck. And then Bitcoin has the chief economic idea, the cryptoeconomics idea of Bitcoin, the proof of work. What it means is, there's many ways to explain it, and I'm sure you can find the technical definition of it. But I think an easy way to explain it is, for the person, one new person comes to the Bitcoin network, he's going to make a decision. Am I going to join the network, or am I going to attack the network? Which one is more probable? If I attack the network, I can change the transactions and give Bitcoin to myself, right? If I join the network, I may be able to mine Bitcoin through the proof of work. So each person, when they come to the Bitcoin network, they make this decision. And so far, I think 9 years later, it has proven, with hundreds of billions of dollars at stake, it has proven that people who join the Bitcoin network make more money. So that essentially eliminates the motivation to attack, because in order to attack the Bitcoin network, you're going to spend so much money that you are better off joining the network. That's what we call economics engineering, because this is not computer science. This is not a technical solution. This is not what a computer scientist can come on their own. This is economics. This is an incentive. This is to say that we understand how humans behave, so we design the system this way, making it so much harder to attack it, so that they would choose to join us, right? So that's but of course, proof of work, I think it's the only proven consensus mechanism, distributed consensus mechanism that has, lasted for 9 years and $100 billion, right? And it has drawbacks. It's very slow because in order to come up with proof of work, you essentially have an arm race between the miners, and then each one trying to solve a different problem. And while they're trying to solve the same problem, but in a different phase space, right? That makes the network even slower than it normally would be. So say each node runs a transaction, so that makes the network very slow. and it's creating meaningless computation. Some say if Bitcoin is gold, then all this computation is not meaningless, because if you look at how much money you have to spend to mine gold and secure gold, put them in the vault, and stuff like that. And it is very expensive as well. So people say if Bitcoin can replace gold, then this may not be meaningless. However, if blockchain, if cryptocurrency is going to see a bright future, then we cannot just have Bitcoin. We cannot have something that is so expensive. So I talked about this in a minute. So